I go by the name of Boog Worldwide, and I got a special guest coming to the stage, man. This guy has over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, over 350 videos and counting. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring him to the stage.
What up? What up?
K9. You got the
What up,
echo.
Boog? Worldwide. What up? What up? Salute, brother.
I got my guy K9 in this building, man. We got to get his backstory and how he got into this travel space and how he got into YouTube. Just tell him a little bit about where you from.
I'm from California, from IE, the Inland Empire, which is, some surrounding cities an hour away from like Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? From the inner cities, big cities. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so I'm from Cali, bro. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What got you into traveling?
What got me into traveling? All right, so I used to watch like some travel videos of some guys that was traveling and they was posting stuff on YouTube, and then they kind of fell off. But when they was doing it, I used to think like, is this even real? So when they kind of fell off, another guy came on the scene and started doing YouTube, and I was watching his videos, and then I started hitting his panels because I was like, damn, this might be real. Like, you can really go out the country and have a good time, because that was foreign to me, coming from a brother from the neighborhood I come from. Most of us don't even leave our block, our city, you know what I mean? Let alone the country, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I agree with you on that. So let's take it back a little bit. Prior to leaving the country and getting into traveling international, have you ever been outside of like California, being that you just said like, we barely leave our own neighborhoods?
Yeah, only because, I don't know if I drive semi trucks for a living. So when I got into that field, obviously I drove all, around America, different states, but prior to that, I had not really been out the state, maybe like Las Vegas, something like that. But other than that, no.
Okay, gotcha. So driving state to state, how long you been in the logistics field?
I want to say it's like 10, 11 years now, maybe 10 to 11 years. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the travel talk, so do you think it's best to like own the truck yourself or just work for the company? Because I'm in the logistics field too. I don't drive the 18 wheelers and stuff like that. I drive the cargo vans.
I mean, depend on your skill set. You know what I'm saying? Owning a truck is not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of failed owner operators. I mean, if you don't know how to work on trucks or you're not that handy, kind of might be tough to own a truck. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it really depends on your skill set and how much you researched it, how dedicated you are. Because owning a truck is like you get off work. When you get off work, you still got more work to do. Loads the plan, book the plan. The truck need this, truck need that. As a company driver, you don't got nothing to worry about. If the truck break down, they're gonna get you another one. They'll put you in a hotel. All them problems is not of yours to think about. They can affect you somewhat because you are gonna lose some money, but they still gonna pay you a base pay if they don't have work for you and it's no fault of your own.
Okay, gotcha. That's good info right there. So we got into the travel stuff briefly. So like what's the first place that you been to international after leaving the country?
All right, so I have been I forgot about this, but so back in the day, I don't really consider it traveling because it's so close to California. I have been to TJ a lot, Tijuana, right? I used to go party out there with some of my older relatives, and but it didn't really feel like it. It's so close. I could drive there in like an hour and some change, right? Hour and 15, 20 minutes, and so. But I have been to TJ. But the first time I felt like, and I didn't even need a passport back then. The first time I felt like I really traveled and left the country was when I went to Dominican Republic for the first time.
Okay, what year was that?
What was that, like 2 to 3 years ago?
2 3 years
I
ago.
forgot long.
Okay.
So it was the year right before they have made some changes in Dominican Republic where they kind of like, so I had caught that when it was like really booming. Like when you go out there, there's a ton of people out there. You know what I mean? So and it was super lit. I went for Halloween, and that's like one of the most litest times you could go. So my first trip was a big trip. You know what I'm saying? So when I came in, I had like a grand entrance. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So, your first time out the country with, TJ, you out the country still though. Like you need a passport to do it. So you technically was already out the country, no matter if it's 30 minutes away or an hour where you done left it. Like you said, people ain't really left they city, let alone they state. So the first time you went to Dominican Republic, what do you think that the proper budget would be to travel internationally?
I think the proper budget would be depending on how long you're gonna be on the trip for. So just say like a 10-day trip, a 2 weekish trip. You need about I think these trips basically boil down to 5 grand a pop. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's cheaper places, but by the time you book your flight, your hotel, the Uber ride to and from the airports, and having pocket money while you out there, you're pretty much gonna need about 5 grand to get a decent trip off, in my opinion.
So, being in the Dominican Republic for the first time, did you experience like a culture shock coming from America? Like, did you see it was kind of different? Like.
Absolutely, man. The first thing when I noticed when I left out of America that was like a culture shock was like seeing all these motos everywhere. Cause being in the
Exactly.
States, you don't see a bunch of motorcycles and bikes everywhere unless you go to bike week. I mean, that's like their main source of transportation, seems like. And so they everywhere. So I noticed that right off the rip. The second thing I noticed right off the rip was um how hot it was, like the weather difference. Like it took me a little minute to get used to that. Like, you know what I mean? I'm from California where it's not really hot, it's not really cold. It's kind of just right in the middle. It can get hot, it can get cold, but for the most part of the year, it's just good weather. So
Yeah, I
those were the
experienced
two
that too,
things.
though. Like, I definitely experienced that too. Like going to the DR, like just seeing like all the motos around. Like, people don't really like drive motos around all day every day. You might see like you go up north, they have the like the bikes and stuff with the bike life and all that, but just driving it every day for transportation. I'm from the South, they don't really do that though. So that's definitely was a culture shock for me too though. So you say your budget when you first went there was like 5 grand.
Now,
How
my
long would you?
first time, but I'm
Mm-hmm,
saying, you asked me what's a good budget to go with. My
mm-hmm.
first budget was like, it was ridiculous, bro. It was like 9 grand. So 2 grand, well, I'm gonna say this, 2 grand to get to and from the airport and all that, and like flight and hotel. But I landed with 7 grand. So it was you know what I mean? So I had 9 grand with total, but I landed with just say 7,000 in pocket,
How did
which
you
was
land
way more than I needed.
exactly? Like, what mistake do you feel like you did when you land with seven? That's a lot. What you do?
Because I was watching other people that's bad at budgeting their money. Like you
Mm-hmm.
watching other people that went before you, and they like, man, you better rather have it than not need it, and they having a bunch of money problems. So you like, let me make sure, I cross my T's and dot my I's. But when I got out there, if you know how to budget your money and you know how to move, that was clearly way too much money to bring. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so now that you said that, so what's the most expensive thing that you feel like you wasted your money on traveling since you
Well,
carried,
I don't feel like
the
I
two?
wasted my money on anything really. You said a waste.
Not just wasted. What's the most expensive mistake that you made? That's just like,
Oh,
being there was your first time, like,
I'll tell you. So my first trip to DR, I go to the infamous flip flop mansion party.
mm,
I don't know if you wear it, I'm sure you're aware of that. Now,
yeah, I
when
remember.
I went, to that party, at that time, you couldn't really film out there comfortably. You couldn't even really pull your phone out. It was like that. That's when I first went. But in Flip's party, you could film and walk around with your phone out. And so I laxed up and I let my guards down because it felt like a different environment in there, right? There was a bunch of people in there. It was hot. And I normally don't let the, like, you know, the ladies, like if I'm kicking it, I don't really let nobody touch them at all. You know what I'm saying? But I got comfortable and I got pickpocketed for $200. Then that same night when I left Flip Flop's party, because after that I kind of was ready to go and it was hot, I hopped on my quad and dipped up out of there and it started to rain like really, really hard. I was getting soaking wet. So I pulled my quad over so I could get out the rain. I was all crazy wet, kind of stumbling into a restaurant. Hey, y'all got a towel? I'm drenching. They give me a towel. It was actually a nice restaurant. So I was like, I'm gonna sit in here till this rain come down. I'm trying to dry off. And I ate in there and I went live, had a beautiful dinner and all of that. And when I came out, my quad was gone. I'm like, what? So I got licked for 200 and then my quad got impounded back. It was back to back the same night.
Yeah, I remember that night though. That's when I really ran into you and met you. You had came out, you was live and stuff. You was just like, you was on the phone like, man, hey yo, I just got pickpocketed. Like I was like, what? Cause I was getting ready to come in because everybody was going in and coming out. They was just like, man, hey, it's hot in the mud in the party and stuff like it. And it, like, keep in mind what you just said, the Dominican Republic is already hot. It's already hot there. And then exactly what you said, as I'm getting ready to come in, you coming out like, man, I just got pickpocketed. And then next thing you know, it just started pouring down raining. Like you said, like, it's crazy how you can go from the weather being like, it felt like it was 110 out there that day, man. Like it was hot in the mud. Then next thing you know, it just started pouring down raining and stuff like that. So you had a double whammy, like right back to back. That's absolutely crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Into the channel, the rhythm is true. Hit the screen, join the flight. Come along.